Thank you so much. Welcome to our session today, the kickoff of the Scrum Foundation certification sync session. So this is going to be an hour session where we'll just be reviewing the different LOs for the IT Data Scrum Foundation certification objective. Just to share my screen quickly, just to give us some context. So if we just go to, so what we're actually talking about today is this certification. If we read more, really we're just thinking about Agile Ways of Working. We're thinking about the history of Scrum, Scrum Definition, theory, values, the teams, event, artifacts, the framework, and just really understanding how it works in real life. So really broadly speaking, as I said, like the first 10 minutes usually for catch up, sync up, and we'll just dive straight into the learning objectives. Just to show for folks, the detailed learning objectives is here, and this is exactly what we'll be reviewing today. This learning objectives, and literally just going them one by one, and really depending on how things go, we will just find discussion. So today I'll be acting as a reviewer, and what DK will be presenting is learning objective. So let's just kick off. I did open it. This is mine. This is yours. So okay, let's walk through. So yeah, the first learning objective was list. Maybe actually, it's up to you if you want to share your screen or if you want to use our screen. Let's just slowly.
No, this is all fine.
Okay, let me zoom in because it might be small for the viewers later. Maybe let's make it 1 to 5. Yeah, okay, this is big enough. Let me try 150. Okay, yeah, this is big enough. And actually, 1 to 5. So objective 1 is yeah, talk us through.
So the first objective I had was to list 4 values of the Agile Manifesto. And so looking at the Scrum guide, I was able to find in total 4 values of Agile Manifesto. And the first is the individual. And so for the first, we're looking at individual interaction over processes and tools. So what Agile is recommending here is that they're of course prioritizing collaboration over like rigid sets of approach. So we look at maybe if you look at other project management or project management techniques, you find out that they typically would focus on processes, but while Agile is looking at the individuals and collaboration. The second value we highlighted.
Hi, DK. Sorry, we just had Laura join us. Laura, how are you doing today?
Hi. Good, and you?
Yeah. We're struggling to hear you a bit, but welcome.
Okay.
So yeah, so just to give you context, I was just sharing this earlier on. We're literally just going through the learning objective of our Scrum Foundation certification course. And just to give you an idea of what that is, it's really we have just to ground us in the fundamentals of Scrum. So we have all these learning objectives, and DK already has his flight. So we'll just be reviewing the objectives, and please feel free at any point to ask questions or comments. The point is that like as we just go through these learning objectives, I'll present some of mine, DK will present some of his, and we'll pick it up from there. And please ask any question. So just to give you some context to what the conversation is within the next 50 minutes. So yeah, the first one, like and again, we're like, to be fair, this is our first kickoff session, especially public facing. So that's why like you probably will be seeing more of the earlier LOs compared so the key, yeah, as you're saying, over to you. So Laura, so just before we continue, do you have any question?
No, not for now. It's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so the second value was the second value I highlighted was working software over comprehensive documentation. So in practice, we were looking at Agile. We'll be looking at how can we deliver real usable results. So how can we at least deliver workable results as opposed to final results. So basically, it's always an iteration with Agile. So how do you create value as fast as possible? So maybe version 1, version 2, version 3, as opposed to maybe just waiting for the full total package to be produced or documented before you take action. The third value was customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So it's almost like the first one where it's individuals and interactions, but yeah, the focus is more on engaging a broader stakeholder group. So basically, for my own business, you look at it like you're engaging your subscribers, you're engaging your students to get feedback. So at least you understand what your what do you call it, your subscribers or your customers want. It's part of getting feedback so that you can adjust your product as opposed to waiting for like a final feedback. So you're always having a collaboration with the end users, which are your customers. And the fourth one is responding to change over following a plan. Okay, Agile is emphasizes on flexibility. So the idea is this, right? As opposed to having like, of course, there will be plans on what to do, but it's more flexible. So Agile incorporates feedbacks more frequently than other methods. So these are the four values of Agile I was able to find out. So I'm sorry, so four values of the Agile manifesto.
I do agree with these four values. I say not that I agree. The only thing like is when you were presenting these values, what was the source of this information? Where did you get your information from?
Online. So I
Because
looked at
you said you got it from the Scrum guide.
yes, from the Agile Manifesto document, yes.
Okay, because like that's one I wanted to point out, like the four, like, and actually given I'm sharing my screen, it's just always because it's important we get all these things right. Let me just show it, like again, like for this part of this, let's just do this. Yeah, really, like this is where these values come from. And again, to be fair, this is just a list, like, so we don't need this is a low level learning objective. Yeah, for me, like so Laura, just to give you context, so I showed you the learning objective. So all our participants get this Excel file with this learning objective and the exercises that you fill it, and in these meetup sessions where we sync, then we just present it and given the reviewer here, actually I looked at this a bit up and I said, yeah, this met the learning objective. And so let's do the next one. Actually, Laura, do you have any question to be honest, like, please just unmute yourself if you have any question or if you want to contribute to the discussion. Of course, we would love to have your viewpoint. Actually, Laura, just for our own sake, is Scrum a new concept to you, or are you a practitioner?
Yes, it's what I was going to say. It's very a new concept for me. I'm just getting started. I just want to see what's about and yeah, to have a first view of what Scrum is. So I'm just here to discover the thing. So
You're in the right room.
okay, thank you.
You're in the right room. Okay. So actually, like, so that we don't only have, let me also present mine. So this is my own for example, this is my own, even though of course I'm a reviewer here, I've also done it myself. So let me just show. So Laura, like, and Dikira, like, for myself, like, I just created mine in a PowerPoint, and I've done it. So let me place it. So at least maybe me and DK, we can just be doing, and please at any point, you can, I'm an experienced Scrum Master, and also Laura, DK is probably like a couple of maybe 18 months ahead of you in his journey. He has explored with Scrum, and now he's deepening his expertise.
Okay.
So really, the 4 values of Scrum, as the case pointed out, individuals and interaction over tools and processes, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over plan, and of course, the source is the Agile Manifesto. Now, this is a list, so why not, except anyone has any question, we will not discuss. Probably maybe when we get into describe and maybe the light blue LOs, then LO mean learning objective, we'll get further into conversation. So okay, let's go to the next one. List the 12 principles of Agile Manifesto.
Yes, so to start with, the principles were, so for my research, the Agile values create like 6 to highlight like the mindsets in adopting Agile as a process, and why the principles stick to align how we should adopt. Of course, there are no like prescriptions in Agile, but it seeks to outline how we should at least implement Scrum when we're putting it in practice. So I listed 12.
Let me give this bit of feedback while we're going on the fly. We have to differentiate Agile from Scrum. Let's just slow down it. So, and I'll be careful here. Scrum is a framework for implementing agility, and there are many frameworks. Again, like as you said, like the Agile Manifesto, what they're trying to capture there, really, in essence, is the mindset and the behavior. So, like, it's not that like Scrum uses Agile values and principles. Agile was not created for Scrum, and really, like in the industry, like most people think Agile and Scrum as almost brothers and sisters, but no. Scrum is just a framework, and there are many ways of being agile. So, like, let's get okay. Let you continue your flow.
I highlight the 12 principles are customer satisfaction through early and continuous software delivery. So basically, this means at least presenting usable products. So like I said before, working software over, it corresponds to working software over comprehensive documentation. So the idea is you are always delivering useful value more frequently. Accommodating changing requirements throughout the developing process. So this of course links up with the 4 where you are responding to changes over following a plan. And to some extent too, it accommodates to, it links up to 3 where you're having maybe changing requirements due to flexibility in the contract. Then we have collaboration between, so of course, Agile as a framework encourages collaboration. So Agile as a principle.
So like I think we can all read this. Like maybe I will take this so that at least we can all contribute in discussion. What did you learn from the 12 principles of the Agile Manifesto? Right, we have this here. And of course, like for you to have done that, Elo, you have gone through this. Like, what was your learning?
So for me, what I took away from this, from listening to this, from learning this stuff is how what Agile is pointing towards, right? So what Agile for me, because if you look at the background, for me, Agile is typically pointing towards a system whereby we can solve a problem by iterative approach and through by collaboration. So all this for me is how do we go about solving problems using this kind of, I would still call it a framework.
Agile is not a framework.
Or would you call it a principle or a methodology?
Agile it's a mindset that drives the way we do work. Agile doesn't prescribe anything to you.
Yeah, we know, but do we call it like a mind? So we'll say the Agile mindset. So it's just how do we adopt Agile in a framework?
And no. The point is not to adopt Agile into a framework. And this is the essence. And let's think about this. Look at what you have written and what I've written. It's pretty similar.
Please. So what is the framework? Sorry.
Okay, very good question. Okay, so wait. Rika, thank you for joining. We're just kicking off the learning objective, and we're actually at the second point where we're looking at the 12 principles of Agile. And Laura asked the question, what is the difference between a framework and a mindset? So I know folks here are interested about Scrum. Let me do this for completeness. I spent too much time looking at all these certifications, but that's fine. Let's make a simple one. Scrum, and actually, because we're in a certification program, I'm going to definitely take a more puristic view, although I take a more pragmatic view in my practice. In the real world, you don't implement Scrum very pure and clean. It's actually very messy. But for learning, I will take you more very purist in the form of view. So let's just, and again, this is it's down the stream though. We'll get into this, but I want to touch on Laura's question. Laura, see, Scrum is a light work framework that helps people. Let me zoom in so we can see. So this is the Scrum guide. This is not what I'm telling you. This is literally the Scrum guide. Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. That is Scrum. So, and we're just looking at this. What is Agile? Let me just start. Okay, Agile Manifesto. Agile Manifesto is saying we are uncovering better ways of developing software. Now, okay, this was written, I think 2001, a long time ago. So these were software developers, but now in the industry now, you can even remove software for product or value if you want to take a more holistic view. So developing value by doing it and helping others. Through this work, we have come to this value system. So at its barest minimum, these four statements it's a value system. And these 12 principles guide this value system.
Okay.
So this is not a framework. This doesn't tell you how to be. Strictly speaking, it doesn't prescribe how you should work. It's a value. Okay, individuals and interaction over tools, that's your value. Working product over documentation, that's your value. It doesn't tell you how to do it. It doesn't tell you how much time, who is doing what, what is the role, how long does it take. Right, these are values. But now let me just touch on Scrum. Let's go back to this image. Scrum is actually a framework. It tells you what to do. Now, and it's telling you, oh, this is simple. Now, okay, I won't go too much into this. For example, now Scrum tells you how your team should be structured. You have developers, you have a product owner, you have a Scrum Master. That's a framework. It tells you what events to do. You have your sprint, your sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint, like these are prescriptions. It even tells you how to organize work. This is your product backlog, your sprint backlog, your increments. The point of this certification is that we will go through all this, but that is the context. It is a framework now. So, and I want to point on this. Scrum here says it's a light framework. Do we have frameworks that are not light? Yes, we do. So if you go and look at Scaled Agile, for example, Scaled Agile would say it is, you can see achieving business agility was what we saw. Let me look for, actually, you know what? Let me look for, I'm sure, configuration. Yes, okay. Yeah, Scaled Agile framework. Now, let me just show you four. While Scrum is this lightweight framework of your Scrum team with your stakeholders, Scaled Agile is a big, large organization with epic owners, enterprise, solutions architect, solution manager, business owner, like this is like you're talking about 1,000 people. While this is talking to you at best, Scrum says at most 10 developers, right? And 10 developers or less. The Scrum team, yeah. We're looking for yeah, small and limbo, typically 10 or less. So if we say, okay, 8 developers, 1 Scrum Master, 1 product owner, this is a framework. Still, we're talking about agility. This is a framework, but this is a mindset. These are principles. And if you want to push it on, and I probably would sit in this camp, it's a philosophy of work. It doesn't tell you what to do. Like, okay, now from a value system point of view, it's not prescriptive. So there are two different things. And as you deepen your capability in Scrum, like this is where the hard work is in introducing that agility, because depending on where you work, right, people are fixated about the right processes, the right tools, but no, we want to get people to talk, interact, collaborate. We really care about our customers having the product in front of them. We don't need 50 or 100 pages. Now, Agile Manifesto doesn't say we should not do these things. Of course, we need to do them. But if you want to work in Agile, we are saying this is the value system and mentality you should have. Don't go and sign red tapes, locked in contracts that is under 10,000 NDAs. Collaborate with folks. Yes, and if you've ever worked in waterfall, anyone here is, you have this Gantt chart that run for 18 months. I just said, you know what, like the world is complex. Let's adapt, let's change. So Laura, does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So Rika, like just for our own for the group understanding, like, will you consider yourself a beginner in Scrum or a practitioner? If you're talking, you're on mute. Okay, we can hear. And honestly, right, like similar for mine again. I've just listed. It's a list Elo, and maybe I'll take, maybe what we'll do, like DK will just be swapping. I'll do the next one. So the next Elo here is describe how values are prioritized within the Agile Manifesto. We've kind of touched on these though, but let me just for completeness. So the way I see this is there are 2 levels of prioritization of values. what the Agile Manifesto tells us is that the things on the left-hand side, let me just actually code them word for word. That is, while there is value on the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. So for me, that is one level of prioritization. How I interpret this in my own practice also is that I need to strive to improve the quality and the spirit of the individuals and interaction over processes, working value. And again, as simple as this, creating a value can be as simple as putting a meetup event where people can come and learn about Scrum, get certified, deepen their expertise. So working value over documentation. I can tell you that there's very little documentation to this experience we're having here. So that's the way I interpret it. Customer collaboration over contract. None of you signed any contracts to join this call, and we're here collaborating. Again, that for me is applying prioritizing customer, and of course in the products I work on. To be fair, this is, I work within finance, more specifically asset management, and also I do a lot of work in technology and data. The legal requirement of our work sometimes actually makes it harder, but still we are making contract negotiation more collaborative, at least rather than black tape with very secretive. We are bringing some transparency into that, thereby improving customer collaboration and responding to change. As I've touched earlier, right? Like yes, we need to plan, but we need continuous planning, because especially when I've worked in waterfall organization, it takes time for organizations to, and teams actually, and even folks to adapt to this. So for me, like this is, yeah, you can say this is left versus right prioritization, but also like, but what is not prioritized is item number one is not more important than item number two. So they are all equally important. That's how I interpreted the prioritization. I don't know, DK, if you have anything to add to that.
That's how I saw it as well too. Just I've put some comments there to show that they are prioritized based on customer value, based on the need to respond to change. So this is how they prioritize. So which is still the same thing as the left over the right. Although the right is important, but of course the left takes what they call it, the left takes more precedence over the right, or more importance.
Yeah. Okay. And let me fill the LO for that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Laura, anything you want to add to that? Any question?
No.
Okay. And again, usually, right, Laura, what we'll do, we'll just fill this. But anyways, I've looked at it. So the next one, so really this is the first objective. The next one, like we just then actually let me look at the LO. Then we're just looking at the very light history of Scrum. So okay, I would hand over for you to take 2.1.
So when we looked at the history of Scrum and Agile, so as I said, Agile is like a mindset, like a philosophy, right? And the aim of the philosophy was brought about based on due to the philosophies underpinning the earlier project management frameworks,
This
which
is just not live. That's like high level, like what, like this is at history, like this is not. That's,
so it was then I founded Scrum. Scrum was typically founded.
okay, wait. Let me show you. Let me again. Right, like part of this, and Laura, the reason why one of the reasons why we made this open is that so that people actually learn how to present and lightly indirectly facilitate. Like this is a low-level objective. Okay, this is what we just did, right? Really, you just want to touch the key points. Really, historically started 1945. You can see the key players were still innovating till now. We're still having, even, as I told you, right, like now, as you can see, right, like Agile has been the underlining theme, and Scrum, but really Scrum was only where's the picture? Yeah, Scrum was 1995. So this, and that's the point, that you're just outlining this. We don't need to go into detailed explaining like that. As I said, right, like I'm back to that thing, right? We can see even the Agile Manifesto. We have been, of course, being agile in organizations, but the manifesto only came out 2101. But all these frameworks, people are striving. And that's the point of this leading objective, that you have an appreciation of the evolution. And similar for lean. So lean is another kind of mindset where really lean is striving for elimination of waste. How do we deliver value while eliminating waste? While when you look at the historical evolution of Scrum and agility, it's more about adaptation. Now, we don't, in the scope of this Scrum, we're not going to dive deep into this, but it's just good to outline and see the key historical points. So, and of course, like yeah, so again, right, Laura, this is what will happen. Someone the Germany, what's today's date? Let me just copy this. Yes, we're reviewing it today. Of course, meet learning objectives. But I think, like, just before I don't want us to, let's have a small discussion around this, because I think it's important. Now, I'll point this out, because I know Laura, you also want some this stuff is new to you. There is a line here in the Scrum guide that I like. I have to confess, I've read this document at least more than 20-30 times now.
Okay.
And
Who wrote this document? You wrote it, or
no, I didn't write it. Oh no,
okay.
Scrum is written. Oh no, the guys that wrote actually they are it's by Jeff Sunderland, and let's go to the Scrum guide. Oh wait, their faces used to be here. Okay.
So it's for the official
These are the
Scrum
founders of Scrum.
certificate.
Yes.
Okay, d'accord. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm a French speaking, so sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm not fluent in English, but I'm trying.
No, see, if I'm talking I know sometimes I can talk too fast. If I'm talking too fast, please do let me know.
Okay, no, don't worry. I got you all. So okay.
Okay, that's good. So, no. These are the founders of Scrum, and been pioneers. So, if we go into this, like again, right, like now, Scrum is part of. We get deeper into the learning objectives, but Scrum is founded on lean thinking, and it's very important because being lean is different from being agile. There are two, yes, there's overlap, but still the difference is because as agile, and what Scrum is born from linear is when we apply lean thinking, again, another value system, let's use our language. This value system is about, we want to reduce waste. We just want to focus on what is essential. We're not trying to do any fancy thing here. What is the value? And let's eliminate all waste that contributes to that value delivery system. Why agility is more about responding to change, being agile, being adaptive. Now, Scrum borrows lean thinking because while you are being adaptive and solving complex problems, you don't want to also be creating a lot of waste. And I will urge you both to further your understanding in lean thinking. It's a very interesting way of viewing work and viewing actually innovation and agility, and it has its own merits. But it's just worth pointing that out. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, I don't know, Dickie, do you have anything to add to this,
No.
to your outline? Okay, and again, right, this is another outline, and this learning objective is slightly different. So now we're slowly getting into the middle of the ball now, where we're now going into learning objective 3, where we're looking at really what is Scrum definition. So this learning objective was outline at least 5 key learning points from reading the Scrum guide. Okay, let's kick off with you.
So the first one I found out, and I liked it, Scrum being a framework as opposed to a methodology. Because a framework will tell you how to do something, while a methodology will tell you maybe the why or the what. So that I like Scrum has a framework. Of course, it has like it's how it wants to be structured, and even like we look at like team setting and the deliverable. So yes, Scrum is a framework, and like I've highlighted, Scrum is, of course, it's founded on the idea of lean thinking, and empiricism just based on factual information. So, and I think that's where it leans towards the agile aspect itself. Then for the third one, we looked at the Scrum team structure. So obviously, before this, the definite guide to Scrum, there was a prescribed structure which had like which was structured like Scrum was two different teams. But now going forward, now Scrum is now like more inclusive. Then we have the artifacts, which we'll look at as the product goals and all those product goals, sprint goals, and co. You have your Scrum values, your product goal added as a new, and the definition of done, of course. You said 5, but I highlighted all the ones I saw.
Honestly, as I think about it, like, I don't think this meets this learning objective in terms of the spirit of the learning objectives, because yes, okay, Scrum is a framework. These are not really, it's almost like you're saying what Scrum is. The key point is like, what did you learn? What after you read this for you? Okay, you know what? Like, let me demo something different, and I will show you. Like, okay, let me see like what this answer is missing here, and maybe like actually let me put this comment here. Maybe it's, I'll just put needs revision. Needs revision. Because really what this Elo is trying to capture is like, so what? And by the way, this is a facilitation technique of asking so what. So after reading the Scrum guide, let's put this. What did you, let me say, what did you personally gain? Again, personally learn. How do you see the world differently? Again, like, okay, so now let's start this. Let's take another, let me give you an alternative. For me, like this was a stop moment for me when I was doing this learning objective. As you can see, even as an experienced practitioner, when you read the Scrum guide, it always feels like day one. Um, and so I took this point as from I took the stance of a founder founding a startup. I finished reading the Scrum guide. What did I learn? And they gave her like, okay, I probably similar to you. I probably wrote 15. Yes, I wrote 15 and I stopped, and it was just 5. So 5 will have been fine to pass this learning objective. So let's take a step back. The fact that now you don't have to take my stance. You can take whatever stance you want. And maybe I should actually write this in different stance, but I've taken the founder stance. Scrum is a lightweight framework. Scrum is a lightweight framework. And really, for me as a founder, it really means like I have this very slim framework that I can turn my ideas into realities. Because, anyways, the problems I'm trying to solve are in an adaptive space. Now, a simple one for this group that you can relate with. Trying to get people to learn Scrum is actually not a simple problem. It's a complex problem. People behave differently. We're expecting 10 people to join our call today. We're only 3. We have to adapt to the situation. So I learned that Scrum is simple. Again, as a founder, as a startup, we need something simple. Scrum is I found this top point, should I say, good and challenging. Scrum is not complete, which is actually in the guide. So this is not made up. Let me show you this. Control F. Let's look for incomplete. It's deliberate. Scrum is purposely incomplete. So whatever Scrum prescribed to you as a framework, you have to adapt it within your context and add some more structures, processes, and framework for you to truly be agile. And that was refreshing. Okay, then it provoked me to start thinking about, okay, what more do I need to add to my Scrum framework for me and my team to be more value driven? Then you start thinking about things like, okay, maybe having an MVP and process alongside, having our OKRs, our vision stuff, and that for us would then bring Scrum more to life. Again, like as a startup, I learned that Scrum can help us become more predictable and control risks, especially as a startup where the risks, you also have a survival risk. I think Scrum can help us become a team that will survive both economical and technological and political pressures that we're seeing in the modern business world. And of course, like the list goes on. But that's the point of this learning objective. How do you see the world different? What are the learning points? Because think about it, like this is Laura, like, is it fair to say you have not yet read the Scrum guide?
I've never read it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. You know,
maybe after this session,
I would
I
say
will read it.
if I'm to give you, of course, we would love you to join our certification program. But
Okay.
if I'm going to give you one
Please.
advice,
Mm-hmm.
please. I know they have translated it in multiple languages.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the French version. Let me put
Mm-hmm.
it in the chat. I always tell folks, please
Mm-hmm.
read this.
Okay.
Read it. And after you read it again,
Okay.
because um, it takes time.
Okay.
It takes time to
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
And again, depending on where you are on that journey, it slightly makes something different.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like as you work in complex systems, you're learning more. It's yeah, it's a
Mm.
helpful, and actually it's very the 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 interesting thing about it is less than 14 pages. I
Okay.
think so. It's a very light document.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, this is 21 now. Okay, but maybe plus the references, but still. So and I think with like it's good to actually like I can see I know we have 11 minutes more on the clock. To actually slowly stop here, like let me comment on the Scrum Guide. The Scrum Guide is an important and probably for me the most influential document in my Scrum journey. As you can see, I'm quite into it and I'm invested in it. And I want to comment on the Scrum Guide because again, we're like this is an incomplete guide to how a business should do work. This guide proposes how Scrum works. It wants to increase our knowledge base, introduce new patterns and processes of how work should be done. Scrum Guide goes from the definition to the theory and really the values. The values. Now, again, so if you think about it, if you're an agile team, you have the agile values. Layered on that, you then have the Scrum values. And of course, like both values are actually addictive. They don't clash each other. You have the Scrum team, the fundamental unit of Scrum. So this gets you thinking like how should we as a human system work together? Really tells you what people should do, what are they accountable for, what are they responsible for, um, how should we even communicate, how should we collaborate, and in sorry Laura, are you trying to say something?
No,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Let me use my the elevator.
So so thank you. So if you think about it in terms of events, what does sprint planning? It tells you the details, the Scrum guide. I mean, the daily Scrum, the sprint review, sprint retrospective, and of course the artifacts. And as we go through this document, it's one thing to read it, but really also, and again, it's one thing to come on a program like this where we help you build your knowledge, but most importantly, very important that we practice these things, we use it. And actually, we're using some of that today because, anyways, we're practicing the Scrum value, we're collaborating, we're being transparent, inspecting and adapting our learning objective. I would highly recommend we as folks interested in Scrum to be very conversant with this guide. I can't overly stress that. So Diki, are you okay to revise this learning objective?
Which second?
Yeah, let's revise it. Let's
Yes, I am going to revise it. Yes.
and actually like Laura, just for your okay, now I'll come just for your information, like these learning objectives are of course like research driven. People go and read, they fill them up. The world is changing. There's a bit of
Okay.
AI. There's a bit of
Yeah.
AI. People use AI, but I tell folks like
Mm,
even if you use AI, make sure you understand
mm,
what you are writing.
mm.
This is not a blind search because of course that enhances your learning. I think we still have, you know what, like we have 7 minutes, and it's part of what I would love us in this, of course, the last 10 minutes is to ask questions.
Okay.
Um do we have any questions about Scrum Agile that we would like to discuss in the last part of this sync meeting? Dickie, Laura, yeah.
For me, since it's my first time here and first time to really go into Scrum, I don't have any. Maybe at the next session, I will have more questions. Now that I know a bit about it, I think I'll go and search myself what is it and so on. So I do not have any question.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Dickie, yourself?
So based on like the fact that Scrum prescribes like a team's like a minimum team condition, right?
Yes.
Would you say that Scrum would not be ideal in like maybe certain kind of business setups?
Very good question. I'm going to steal from the next learning objective. So let's look at the next learning objective. State the definition of Scrum. And DK, you wrote Scrum is a framework for complex problem solving by working iteratively and collaboratively to deliver value. Yeah, I would say, you know what? I'm going to take a purist view. I said this is not fully correct. It's correct-ish. Let's go to the Scrum guide. This is the French version. I wish we could read this version, but let's look at the English version. What is Scrum? Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, or organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. Now, let me show you something. And this is the C9 framework for complexity. There are different types of problems. And let me show you a simple diagram. I'm not going to, oh, this is too small. Oh, open image in new tab. Yeah, okay, this is big. We have different types of problems. You have a simple problem, you have complicated problem, you have complex problem, and you have chaotic problem. Right? Let's go back to our definition. Scrum, complex problem. So Scrum is telling you, I'm really good for complex problem. So what it means inherently, if your problem is complicated, Scrum is not the best framework. If your problem is simple, i.e., you know what it is, you have done it, is repeated, you don't need Scrum. If it's chaotic where there's no sense of order, the world is burning on fire, you don't need Scrum. Scrum cannot help you. Scrum only works well when you are working on complex problems. So that is point one. Let's go back to our definition. Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations. If your problem is not about helping people, team, organization generate value, then Scrum is not for you. So Scrum is a very value-driven framework. Now, let's take this again. And I probably will say a bit of the heart of Scrum is, does your complex problem require an adaptive solution? If you're not adapting to anything, if your solution doesn't need to adapt to any environment, of course, which is an inherent property of having complexity though. But if you have a static solution and your consumer is willing to pay you for that static solution, come rain, come sunshine, there's no need for adaptability, then you don't need Scrum. We need Scrum when we need something light. And of course, like if your problem or your business doesn't want a lightweight framework. You don't need Scrum. So Scrum is only useful when you have an environment that requires a light framework, that is, you really want to generate value. You want your solution that you're generating to be adaptive, and you are solving a complex problem. That is when Scrum works.
So my last question is, what is the definition of complex in terms of problems?
My friend, go and look at the C9 framework. It will tell you the properties, the nature of, and because this is a research-based course, I want you to go and research on it, and we'll pick this up in our next meeting.
Okay.
We have just a minute left. Laura, anything before we close the call?
No.
Okay. So thank you both for attending. Really appreciate this. And let me put this. Laura, just for so that we just get into our CRM system and we're able to communicate with you more effectively, please fill our interest form, because actually we don't know how to connect from you probably after from Meetup, but it would be good to have you within our ecosystem so we can both grow and learn in our agility together. So I've put the link to the form. This will be meeting up in a fortnight to continue our learning objective. Hopefully you enjoy this, and we'll sync in 2 weeks' time. Bye, both.
Bye.
Bye-bye.